someone going to an attorney is the length of time that it takes. Not that it's a concern, it's just the attorneys do have to devote a lot of time in trying to negotiate with these lenders, and it takes forever. And anybody out there who's been calling mortgage companies trying to get through to a loss mitigation department knows that it's very frustrating. I myself, as an attorney who represented someone several months ago, took me almost an hour and a half of calling just to get to a person that could help my client. And it's very frustrating. And every time you call, you get a different individual from the lender. But it's frustrating.
Sounds like it's a frustrating process. When you mentioned deed in lieu of foreclosure, what would that do to help the seller? You say it saves them embarrassment.
Well, it's not in let me rephrase that. A deed in lieu of foreclosure applies when you're going to lose your home in foreclosure. It doesn't apply with a short sale.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's worth it for the bank to take that deed?
If they believe a short sale is not going to benefit them in any way, then they can put it on a foreclosure calendar, and they could opt to foreclose. Remember, you're at the mercy of the lender. If they don't want a short sale, the lender has two options when someone is delinquent on their loan. They can either approve a short sale, or they can proceed with a foreclosure. So if you know the short sale is not going to be approved, and you can't pay your mortgage, and you don't want to go through the embarrassment of a foreclosure, then by all means, I would contact an attorney and see if the attorney can negotiate a settlement whereby there would be a deed in foreclosure, a deed in lieu of foreclosure. So you're just transferring title to the bank without having to go through all the legalities and the embarrassment of foreclosure.
Sounds like good advice. The cynic in me tells me that no bank is going to want to be overly generous with anyone, so they're going to do what suits their purposes best. Does that mean that if a real estate broker is involved first, they might better be able to tell you this is likely to be a short sale at $1,000 less, $7,000, $400,000, or whatever? Are they likely to be able to give you that insight?
I think a real estate is important. A real estate agent is important because he or she specializes in fair market values of real estate. So they can give you their opinion of what the value of the home is worth. And of course, I would contact a real estate agent. I'm not equipped to appraise real estate.
Recently, in reading about the number of short sales that are involved, it's become a market for lawyers, real estate people. I understand that. But I also understand that there's, if not a scam, at least some problems associated with perhaps unnecessary delays that end up making everyone on the professional end more money and perhaps the seller less money. How does one even try to circumvent that or avoid that? What do you do if you sense that there's an unnecessary delay or many unnecessary delays?
Well, so that's where it gets discouraging for the homeowner slash seller and even the buyer. Because if the homeowner is going to go through all that and they know that the foreclosure's down the pipe somewhere, what's the incentive for the homeowner? If they can't get it approved, they might just opt for foreclosure. They might just opt for foreclosure. As far as the buyer, how are you going to get a buyer to sign on to a purchase and sale agreement, especially if the buyer has cash available? I mean, you do want to put a contingency in a purchase and sale agreement that is subject to approval of the mortgage company. But myself, if I was a buyer in a short sale, I would want to know prior to signing a contract with the seller if the short sale has been approved. Because if it hasn't, you're in for a long wait.
We have spoken mostly on the seller's behalf, but if you are potentially a buyer, do they also need a real estate agent and or a lawyer? And what's your role if you are involved with that?
Buyers today sometimes get buyer's brokers. They're real estate agents, and what the buyer's brokers do for them is they go out and on the MLS, which is the multiple listing service, that's that big computer in the sky that lists all the real estate, they can go out and find a property. So if you tell a realtor you want a property with 5 bedrooms, a realtor plugs in the information, their broker plugs in the information, and they can find that for you. And what they do is they also negotiate the price with the other real estate agent. So that's where a buyer's broker is helpful. You don't have to have a buyer's broker. Does a buyer need a lawyer? Perhaps, yeah, it's always good to have an attorney to review contracts. Remember, you're dealing with contracts, so it's a good idea to get an attorney involved, yes.
In seeing an occasion where a would-be buyer was thinking about buying at short sale an apartment complex, there were people living in that apartment. What happens in those cases when they're either likely to be evicted, they don't need to be evicted, they could be evicted, who's taking care of the toilet and the plumbing? Whose responsibility is that, and where do lawyers come in as far as that's concerned?
Well, that's a problem right now in the city of Providence. They're trying to pass some type of ordinance to protect the tenants. You're at a loss because the homeowner should be responsible to notify the tenants that they're going to be losing the house, that the homeowners will be losing the house in foreclosure, and that there's a possibility they may not be there. They may have to move. So what tenant's going to want to stay? And they may not have no other choice. Where are they going to go? They're going to end up homeless. It's a problem right now, and hopefully they'll get some solutions. But right now, tenants are at a loss. And the sad thing is they continue to pay the homeowner for several months. The homeowner knows that maybe there's a foreclosure imminent, and the homeowner takes the money, and then tenants, what are they getting for it? You know, there's a foreclosure up that's going to happen. Sometimes well, here's the thing, mortgage companies, if they do know that it's a situation where it's a multifamily home or apartment complex, typically they will send a notice to any tenants that are there. I've seen that happen. I've seen a couple of letters come through my office where people who are in that situation contact me and ask me. Is it happening in every single case? No, it's not.
Should it?
It should, yeah, it should. So any tenant out there who's going to be renting an apartment, caveat emptor, please, ask the question. Ask the question. Are you facing a foreclosure? Ask the question,
When we were talking about foreclosures, there was also this issue about what could be missing, what could be a problem, where the tenants had done something that was destructive. If you're involved with a short sale, are the tenants as likely to do those kinds of things? Do you have to worry about that as well?
Is it a possibility? Yes. Does it happen? Maybe. But, I would assume if you're a good landlord and the tenant is satisfied, maybe you wouldn't face that issue, but it could happen.
Purchase and sale agreements and all of those same things that people deal with when they're going through usual sales. Yep. Are those the kinds of things that lawyers typically deal with?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, purchase and sale agreement. Remember, it's a complex contract. It has to be reviewed. It's a legal document. It should be reviewed by an attorney. If a real estate agent is providing that, you must ensure that if it's a short sale situation, that the contract is contingent upon third-party approval or the lender's approval. Because if it isn't, and you don't put that in there, you could possibly have a buyer that could sue you if there's a default, if it falls through.
So many issues to deal with.
Yep.
Lawyers pay about the same amount, are charging the same amount for short sales or foreclosures? Could be?
Well, I think what I said earlier is that lawyers are limited in what they can get on a short sale, and the mortgage company pays. My memory tells me it could be around $3,000 or $4,000, somewhere around there. It doesn't come out of the seller's pocket. It has to come out from the sale proceeds.
Good to know. So much information, so much that we've covered: foreclosure, short sale. I hope that those of you who have been paying attention are better equipped to handle whichever you are, buyer or seller. As we go forward in the upcoming weeks, we're going to be talking about more financial issues with Jackie and David at Audette, Bazar, Cordeiro Grasso Law Firm in East Providence. We thank you for tuning in. And next time we meet, we're going to be discussing small claims court. So we hope that you'll stay tuned and join us.